the F4, they have everything rested. Hopefully they just chill. There we go. Hey yo, how's it going everyone? Entropy here today with another video. Today we're going to be doing another deck profile from the Fighters collection, and that is going to be one of my favorite clans in Vanguard 0, Megacolony. Now, a long time ago, someone on stream asked me what's my favorite clan in 0 specifically. Not overall, my overall favorite clan is Shadow Paladin. You have a lot of edgy stuff. I really enjoy that kind of playstyle where you expand and you retire and you get to do you have a lot of different options. But in 0, one of the biggest changes to one of the most underrated clans was Megacolony. PARALYZE does something definitely better. It's nerfed in some ways because you have to attack intercepts and whatnot, but I think that they made quite a bit of changes. Machining has a way to go, and I've always really enjoyed the clan. So without further ado, let's talk about how Megacolony is supported from the Fighters collection and how it can reign supreme in this metagame. Right now, I don't think it's super competitive, but I think if you can catch people off guard when people don't know this matchup, because it is really rare, you can definitely destroy them. And we've seen this from the very beginning of G era. People don't know the interaction with paralyzed units and stride. And, that's how you win free games. Sometimes all it takes is one noob, and then that's a free W. So let's talk about the list and see how it differs from what we had recently. So let's start off with the starter. We have Machining Little B. This is your go-to starter. If you're playing a machining deck, this is the one. It goes into your soul to stand one of your rest machinings and give it plus 3k and a draw. In addition, in your drop zone, you can put this back into the soul by soul blasting 2. So this is really great because you have a lot of units that superior call from the soul in rest position. You have Machining Little B to do that little job. Very important little guy, and help you fix that unit and helps you draw a card, which helps you dig deeper into your deck. Very, very important. One of the weaknesses of this deck is that it doesn't have the pseudo resist that most of the new starters do, and we have a way to work around it actually, so I will mention that in a bit. Next we'll be playing 4 of the new PGs. Don't really need the old ones. Right now this new PG lets us take a little bit more damage. Before we never had this option, so we have access to LB4 and other skills much more easier now. You have the counter charge as well, which definitely helps because you do counter blast 2 quite a bit. So the Star Shield, very important at 4. Definitely play 4. We play 3 of the Machining Mosquito, helps us soul charge 1. It definitely helps because, as we just mentioned, we superior call a lot from the soul, so this Mosquito helps us give us more options. Not too important, but being able to proc this once or twice gives us a lot more opportunities to develop the board we want. And because there's a lot of superior calling, we are going to be playing quite a bit of 2s and 3s. Machining Kougeki-s, you don't really want to play more than 2 here, but when it boosts the machining and the attack hits a Vanguard, you can paralyze one of everyone's rearguards. Very, very helpful, very, very strong. It can paralyze back rows and starters alike. You have the Legion era starters that have resist, but right now a lot of the starters have pseudo resist, which means you can still paralyze them. You can't retire them, but you can still paralyze them and shut down those plays. There's a lot of different matchups that this could help out with. In Shadows, you can shut down Judge Bows, most notably, I guess. So there you go. It's important, it's valuable, but 2, more than enough. We play 2 of the 10k beaters, Black Soldier. We're not playing the one that checks for if there's a machining in soul anymore, simply because we will be doing more superior calling from the soul, so it's less reliable. The Black Soldier is a decent 10k beater, gives you a little bit of edge in the early game, and when you're later down the game, maybe when you're lower on resources, Black Soldier still does what it needs to do and hit that 10k number with those intercepts and lets your Vanguard goes for a face. Lastly, we play 2 of the little Dorcas. This is the Stride Fodder. The reason why we're playing this, originally I did not play a single copy of this because I did value having the machining names in the soul for the superior call, but I did notice that the striding cost is a bit expensive for the deck. So having 2 of the Stride Fodders definitely really helped me make my stride plays more consistent without minusing too much, and it is valuable. And this is an SP. You can't really tell, but it is a very good looking buggy boy. Next, for the grade 2s, you're always going to be playing 4 Mosquito MK2s. Helps you restand and multi-attack, helps you paralyze. It's exactly what you want. and it's an 11k as well. So against players that don't know much about Megacolony, this is an easy 11k beater. If your opponent knows the matchup and leaves one unit in stand position, then you have other units like your Machining Papilio, which paralyzes it. When you paralyze a rear guard, they immediately go into rest position, and so then your conditions that require all your opponent's rear guards to be in rest will be active. So very important to note. We are going to be playing 4 of the 12k beaters again. No longer playing the one that checks for machining and soul, because we are going to be soul blasting a lot. So this is just more straightforward. You won't have a 12k Vanguard, but more than enough. The 12k rear guard is enough. And lastly, we play 3 machining armor beetle. Now this is an odd pick. I didn't really pick up on this until I talked to MC Battler Cyclo. This is interesting because on paper it looks like it looks like a worse version of Papilio, right? Like you're removing one unit in the board in order to paralyze one of your opponent's rear guards. The good thing is that this is Vanguard rear guard, and another thing is that it keeps your little B safe pocketed in your soul. So this is actually really valuable to me in matchups like Kagero and Origami. You definitely want to keep that little B tucked safely for that next grade 3 turn play, and the armor beetle does exactly what it needs to do. So actually very valuable. Actually just in some conditions better than Papilio. Papilio is still free, which is still really good, but machining armor beetle, even if you don't use a skill, it's still 9k beater, and that is more than good enough. For the grade 3 sauce, we play 4 of the machining Warsicle. This is your staple. It's amazing. Paralyzes your opponent with CB2, and your opponent must discard a card to normal ride. So it is a little bit of trouble. They can't just rewrite and then stride or whatever. They have to discard one, rewrite, and then pay for the stride cost if they want to make those stride plays. In addition, Vanguard Circle, when placed, you can counterblast 1 call to machining from your soul as rest, and it can ignore intercept of paralyzed regards when attacking. So the main important one is the counterblast 1, because when you tuck in the armor beetle, when you tuck in the little B, you can then counterblast 1, call 2 things out. Let's say the armor beetle and the little B. The little B then tuck itself in the soul and restands the armor beetle. So if things work out, you get that 1 draw, you set up a free body for counterblast 1, 12k beater. It's nice. It works out really, really well. If you don't need to use the armor beetle to tuck it in some matchups that don't have retire, then what you can do is just superior call 2 units and restand 1. The other one is going to be in rest position, but you could restand it with Mosquito, or you could just leave it. You don't really need it necessarily that early. Next turn it's going to restand it anyway, so there you go. We play 4 of the machining Stag Beetle. Now Stag Beetle is interesting because this is we used to play this a very long time ago, but now I do think that it has a position to be played again. It's simple, it doesn't cost any counterblast, it helps you just plus. It's a big number if you're going first. If you're going second, you can immediately stride into something else. And it's a 10k body, which means that it works with our Lord and Savior Medu. So I love it. And lastly, we play 1 of the machining Spark Hercules. It's always just there. It can ignore paralyzed rear guards, it can rest all your opponent's rear guards and call something out. And in addition, in those clutch situations, you can counterblast 2, paralyze something, and get +10/+1 crit, and try to go for a game. So Spark Hercules, it's a 1-of, you don't really see it that often. You could choose to play the Legion instead, but I do think that Spark Hercules is just more versatile and can actually do something on the rear guard circle sometimes. So that's basically the grade 3 lineup. We play for the heal guards, of course. For the grade 4s, we play 2 of our Lord and Savior Medu, because if we are on Stag Beetle, it's a free stride. You know, you pick up the grade 3 you want, you could go for another Stag Beetle play, you can go for another Warsicle play, or you could just try again next turn. We play 1 of the Harmonics for the Link Joker matchup. We play 2 of the Jaggy Devil SP. When it hits, you can paralyze 1 front row and back row. Is this really important? Not really. And the reason being is because we have Machining Destroyer. And I love this unit, I love the art, I love the skill. Once per turn, if you have a Machining Heart, you can counterblast 2, choose 1 of your opponent's rear guards, and paralyze it. In addition, if you have 4 or more Machining rear guards and all of your opponent's rear guards are rest, your opponent's Vanguard is paralyzed as well. This is definitely not as good as Warsicle's Paralyze, but it's still really nice because it's not LB4, because it's easy to proc, and now you kind of understand why we play so much paralyzing on the grade 2 slots, and we play so much of the superior calling on the grade 3 slots, because as I mentioned, if your opponent knows the matchup, they would keep some units in stand position. So you do need to use your Papilios and your Armor Beetles to put them into rest position and paralyze. And then to fill up your board with 4 machinings without investing too much onto your board from your hand, you use stuff like Stag Beetle and Warsicle to cheaply set up your 4 machinings, and then able to proc Destroyer. Destroyer is not GB2 restricted. Your Destroyer doesn't ask for anything but a machining heart, so it is very nice. That's why Jaggy Devil honestly doesn't see too much play, but it's still nice to have it as an option to punish your opponent for committing grade 3s or grade 1s in the front row, I guess. So that is basically it with the list. Basic rundown, we have the Little B. We're going to ride something like the Mosquito, or the 10k Beater, or the Kougeki-s, any machining really, depending on the matchup, whatever you need on your board. Then the grade 2 slot, probably like a machining Armor Beetle, maybe the Red Soldier or the Mosquito MK2, rarely machining Papillon because I'd rather just play this out in the Regal Circle and just paralyze the starter, but it can happen. They're all machining, so you can always Superior Call them out anyways. And then for the grade 3s, generally going into the Stag Beetle could help, simply because it's cheaper, because you can loop strides easier if you do want that. But Warsicle is also really solid. It does cost Counterblast 1 though, so be careful of your Counterblast usage. But definitely going into that later into the game can really help because it is a better Paralyze. And then for the stride, probably going into Machining Destroyer as soon as possible. You just slow down your opponent's game plan, try to expand your board, set up those multi-attack plays with MK2, and go for a game. That's basically it. So with all that said and done, let's go into a game or two and see how this deck performs on ladder. Now, there are some interesting choices that you can play around with, and as you can see, the grade 1 slot I'm not too big of a fan of, but it's what's working with so much Superior Calling from the Soul and the opportunity to soul charge random pieces. You can play around with 2s and 3s much more than I'm comfortable with, honestly. But I do think that if you want to play this deck, you should tweak your grade 1 and grade 2 ratios to your liking. You know, if you don't like Armor Beetle, that's absolutely understandable. You can play more 12k Beaters, you can play more Papillons. If you don't like the Kougeki-s, that's fine as well. If you think you have enough paralyzing, then you can play more 10k Beaters, or you can play more Stride Fighters if you want to stride more consistently. So play around with the numbers. We're going to be playing against Damage and Police, Metalborgs, I see. So let's see how we do. So we're going to go first. No need to keep that grade 3 in our hand. We have a PG, we have a grade 1, we have a grade 2. These are all machinings. I kind of like that. Well, except for the PG, of course. I'm going to turn on animations. And this is indeed Metalborgs. Let's see how we do. We're going to ride the Kougeki-s. Starter, generally, I'm going to put it in the bottom right corner. Now, DP does have some retire shenanigans. I know for a fact with D-Robos. Not too familiar with Metalborgs, honestly, but I remember the stride does have a retire aspect to it. So we need to be careful with how we use our Lilliby. We gotta cuddle it and make sure it's safe and sound. When I draw, I'm gonna use the Armor Beetle. We can tuck it in, paralyze. I can. Let's just battle. I'm not gonna commit the 12k too early. We do have a lot of defensive options in the form of a Heal Guard and a PG, so I'm comfortable just taking this slow and steady. And we did paralyze their back row, not giving them the Counterblast 2 to do some weird shenanigans. And let's see what they do. If they want to push for 2 more damage in this turn, they have to commit 2 more units to scale that column, unless they bank on a trigger. And they're going to go for the safe play as well. So we're gonna just make sure that we're moving on with the game at our own pace. We have the Machining Stag Beetle. We're gonna go for it. Superior Call 2. The Vanguard gets big numbers. Not gonna use this. We're gonna use the Little B for that 1 draw and the 3k. Gonna set up those numbers. 12 to 9, 19 to 9, 24 to 19 to 14, 24 to 19. Very nice. Little aggression. No heal here, unfortunately, because we are ahead of it. Well, is it ahead or behind? Ahead in terms of damage right now. We're 2 to 4, 2 to 3, now 2 to 4. So no heal, but that's still absolutely fine. We have the intercepts. And next turn, if they do decide to break our board, we can just go back into the Stag Beetle and get 2 more bodies out. Barring Greater, wait, lets you fix your ride. But they're gonna skip the stride actually here. The stride is better off when you are already in Legion stage. So Metalborg, very cool archetype. Unfortunately, I pulled exactly 0 copies of both Sinbuster and the other Legion. Pumps up the numbers. I wonder if they're gonna go set up Legion for that draw. I mean, they don't need to set up Legion for that one draw, I guess. They just need the power. And they're just gonna set up the 20k. So when they hit, they get that big number and the big draws. So just gonna take this slow and easy as well. But I'm wondering, maybe it would have been wise to save the Baron Grader for the next turn. When we paralyze them, they could still re-ride, right? So I don't know. I guess they just want to try to draw into more grade 3s and whatnot. So here we go. We're gonna re-ride into the Stag Beetle. It's gonna give us 2 bodies. So put this behind Vanguard. And we're gonna stride into the Machining Destroyer. And then the little bee, well, we can just call something out first before, well, we can always choose to call one more thing out before using the Destroyer before using the little bee, but using the little bee does give us 1 draw. We are planning to commit the 2 grade 2s anyways, so I'm going to use the little bee first. Okay, we have a multi-attacker, very nice. I like that. That's 21. We have 4, so we can use this. We're going to paralyze the rearguard, I guess. Oh no! I forgot your opponent needed everything to be in stand position. Well, this is awkward. This is awkward. This is not good. It's not good showing. Don't misplay like me, I guess. Haha. Very funny. It's not that funny. This is terrible. But let's hope we can recover from this misplay. That's terrible. Don't do that. Don't do that. I'm gonna hit. They're gonna draw trigger, and we're still gonna paralyze. We're gonna paralyze this. Woo! Bad player. Terrible. Terrible. They're gonna skip the stride. They're just gonna go straight into the Legion. Urbuster is gonna pump up that number by 4k, and on hit retire. Well, in Legion Fate, they're definitely going to be 20k, so paralyzing the back row didn't really matter here. Of course, they could choose to a Black Boy here for the memes, but I don't think that's the play. Now, I wonder which one they're going to retire. Is it going to be the Kougeki-s? But, you know, they're at 5 already, so probably going to be retiring the 10k beater. Let's see what they choose. Okay, the Kougeki-s, maybe they expect to heal, and that could make a difference. Well, let's not make the same mistake. Let's not make the same mistake. We're just gonna stride. Everything on their board is rested now, so we should be good this time. Not gonna use a skill. We have 4. They have everything rested. Hopefully they just chill. There we go. Paralyzed. This is what we're looking for. Last turn was not a good demonstration. One of the weaknesses, I guess, of being on a 10k Vanguard is that we're not asking for a PG with this swing. We're asking for a heal guard, unless we see a trigger. And luckily we did. But, you know, that's just how it works. But that's game. Okay. Well then, I guess that was easy. I was holding that before they maybe see a 6 damage heal. So you know what happens. The paralyzing Vanguard. It happened, but it didn't really matter. But I think it is very nice, especially against a Legion-based deck like Metalborgs, because, well, they can choose to reride, but if they reride and then stride or whatever, then they won't have the 2 units in the heart to actually proc the stuff they want. And this is the case with a lot of these Legion-based strides, like Brawlers too. But we're doing pretty good, even though we misplayed. That opponent didn't have a PG, and that's just how it is sometimes. So let's go into game 2. We're gonna be playing against Easel, I'm expecting. PGs. Easel does crit, but I'm just gonna toss 1 PG. I'm gonna keep 1 PG. I think that's more than enough. Let's just see how it is. It's the Lionette. So it could be something like a Liberators, it could be a Gurgui. Overall, Gold Paladin's power level. Okay. Player power level is also pretty low because they mulligan to grade 1. If you're not familiar with how the rules work, you are guaranteed a non-PG grade 1 in your opening hand unless you mulliganed it away. So maybe they had a Dindrain or something. Or the GB1 Dindrain that doesn't require Soul Blast, the dog. Maybe they had that and they mulliganed it away. So overall, you know, player strength is. Oh, I hope I don't touch wood. But yeah, Gold Paladin a little bit rough right now. Hopefully they get some support down the line because they are a really interesting mechanic with how they set up the defense by milling. Okay, this seems like a very straightforward Gurgui deck. In the line, because they have nothing better. Alright, we are going to... They do have Retire, but I don't know if it's worth it to tuck in the... Oh, we don't have a grade 3. Well, that's rough. Armor Beetle, I guess. That's fine. I'm not gonna use the skill. Because these retires are only front row retires. What do we do here? I guess I can call... I'm gonna paralyze the front row and call... Oh no, they're 10k. Well, math hard. Math hard. We're gonna whiff. That's not fine. But that's a mistake. See what they're gonna do. Paralyzing front row still feels really good, just because they won't have that column unless they purposely retire it. They could always wait for the next turn, but that's a loss in their momentum. Tempo? Is that the right word? A double draw trigger. Hopefully we see 1 2 and draw into grade 3. Draw trigger. Not a grade 3. Okay. Grade 3. Come on. There we go. Top deck. Easy game. Machining Warsicle. Nice, kind of last 1. I call down the bodies. Not gonna use this. I'm gonna stride into Machining Destroyer using the stride fodder. So we're at 26k number now because we are on Warsicle. I'm gonna draw into all our heals. We do have 4 units. I am planning to commit this anyway, so let's just draw first and see what we have. Call this out. Remember to call this out. Have 4. Check your opponent's board to make sure they're all paralyzed, and we're gonna paralyze the let's paralyze the front row. Battle, 12 to rear guard, R11 is going to attack, restand that column on the left, and paralyze the back row. I'm going to play the crit, okay. Fortunately, that defensive is going to lock our 19k number, but that's okay, we still have our Vanguard swing and we have triple drive, so unfortunately no trigger, 1 trigger, but that's not enough for our left column to hit, but that's okay, we're in a good spot. Never mind, they healed. Okay, we're going to pass, I guess. I'm just going to rather leave that front row paralyzed. have them retire their own mates. And we do have 3 heal guards and 1 PG on our hand. That's half our hand with defenses. We do have 3 machining MK2s to multi-attack with, and little Dorcas to help us stride with. Opponent's not going to re-ride. Okay. That's an interesting pick, but they're just not going to give us the cameras to do stuff. That's fine. Perfectly fine with me. We don't really need to stride. I'd rather save it for another turn. I'm just going to call this stuff down. And Vanguard to Vanguard. Our Vanguard doesn't need to initiate attack to our opponent's Vanguard unless we have the cameras to do stuff with Warsicle. I'm just going to attack like this. Attack like this. And now you can see why I said the Caucasus you could choose to drop it down to 0 or maybe less, because well you do have the other units like machining whatever to do the paralyze. But of course our opponent's gonna heal again, so we're back to 3-3. Nothing happened the last turn. Hopefully we make some progress the next turn because well at least our opponent's no longer paralyzed. And let's see what they're gonna do. This is their first stride turn, so they have a lot of good options. They have Campbell. Maybe they want to go into the one that Persona flips. No, not for Persona flip, but like G flip. So they can set up the GB2. That's viable as well. But let's see what they're going to pick. They're going to choose the Gamble. The Gamble is free. It's easy. Pumps up the Superior Call unit's numbers as well. So it does work nicely like that. Are they going to use the Girdwood skill to pop 1? It could be worth it. It could be worth it. They do have a very healthy hand, but given that they didn't choose to rewrite or whatever last turn, you know, it's understandable because they are playing the crits and whatnot. So they might not be playing a 9 grade 3 lineup. So maybe they were saving for later, or they just don't have it. But let's see what they're gonna do. So one of the weaknesses of the Gold Paladin deck is the aspect of decking out. So this is something that I'm paying attention to. Our opponent only has 15 coins left in the deck. It is still double digit, but very, very quick. It will be single digit. Our opponent's just gonna call down some triggers. They played a Gigantic Ringer, which I'm a fan of, but playing crits and stands and draws, a mix in the deck is just very inconsistent, and I would not suggest that. Look at this. What is this crit from? Where is this from? It affects your ability to scale up your next multi-attack too. And it could affect your ability to just activate your own hits. So I'm not a big fan of this, but whatever works for them, I guess. 2, 4, 6, 2, 4, 6, 8. It's okay, we're not going to overdraw. What are they going to Superior Call? They have to Superior Call something. So I guess that's a little challenge here. Call this. They can expand the board. They can use the Gigantic Ringer to actually give the power to actually hit. That's very nice. They can always use the Rising Lionette as well, but I don't think that's the wisest option right now. I'm just going to swing, ask for 1 defensive. There we go. That's a heal guard. I wish we could actually see a heal trigger. Okay, now we can choose to ride the Stag Beetle, or we can just go straight into the Destroyer, or we can stick with Warsicle. What is the play? What is the play? I think the Stag Beetle might be the better play, just because we're getting more bodies, and we can start using Medu if we wanted to. Yeah, I'll just use Medu here. Let's just pick up the Warsicle. We can always choose to go into that if we wanted to. 2, 4, 6, 8. This will be 9. Gonna tuck this into the soul. If you do have double Warsicle, you can paralyze both front rows and then just go 2 attacks to the face, I guess, but not too important right now. Like, it's not, we're not asking for lethal, and our Vanguard kind of wants to swing, so. We did see that heal that we just mentioned, so that's very cool. And the Pyrol. Very good card. Cool! Synergizes really well with the Fighter's Collection Double Rare Strike, so definitely go choose to play that if you have the 4 pools. So their third weight play is gonna keep striding. So they're gonna go down to 10 cards in deck. We're actually faster than them because we do stride and we do draw a lot with a little B, I guess, but we do need the little oomph in terms of our board as well. What is our opponent's gonna go into? I guess one of the weaknesses of both decks, Gold Paladin and Megacolony, is right now the legions aren't really optimal. You know, Gold Paladin can only do Liberator stuff, which doesn't really work well with third weight. And with the Megacolony, you do need some RNG and the crit pressure and all that. It's too situational, so I'm not a big fan of it. But you can definitely give it a try if you want to. I'm gonna call up the Campbells just to shuffle the deck. Make sure the stand triggers are more consistent. The Primal, they're very nice. I would personally choose to go for the Double Rare Strike instead, just to set up the pull. But right now, well, they're just gonna go with the Vanguard on hit instead. So let's see if that works for them. They're gonna heal back down to 3. They really love going back down to 3, huh? Luckily, we don't have any triggers left, so we're not really afraid of decking out in terms of just, you know, 2 trigger checks. So that's surprisingly a positive here. Personally, I would replace the Linet and the Grade 2 just to cycle those stand triggers back to the deck, pop up those numbers, but we'll see what our opponent checks on the top 3 cards and see how they set it up. They are running out of time. You're just gonna set up that 16k. That's fine. They are running out of time. Can they finish their turn? I'm really stressed for them. The timer is stressful. They could choose to use this, but they're gonna go down to 5 cards in deck. And that's it for the timer. Let's see if they finish their action. That's 4 cards left in deck. And they can still take 2 damage. And that's it. They just gave up. That's it. Yeah, I don't think they could manage to sustain the game plan. We paralyzed them decently well. They stalled them for game, and sometimes that's just how it is. So that is basically it for Machining Destroyer. We're here to destroy the competition here. You have a lot of ways to build up your board now with much more machining centric superior culling shenanigans. You have Machining Destroyer that synergizes well with trying to swarm and develop your board while paralyzing and inhibiting your opponent from developing theirs. So overall, the deck functions really, really well. Again, as I mentioned, play around with the grade 1 slots, play around with grade 2 slots. Grade 3, pretty much like this. You can try to play the Break Ride, I guess, but it doesn't have the machining name. So I didn't really enjoy it, but I know some people do. But I thought it'd be worth mentioning. So that's basically it. I'm really excited for more Megacolony and machining support down the line. Because again, it is one of my favorite clans in Zero. So before we end this video, thank you so much to Nova Grappler, to 2Mellow, to Casey, and ZBD. Thank you all 4 of you for being members of the channel. I really appreciate it. And of course, thank you for those who are watching this to this point of the video. Thank you so much for watching this, liking the video if you liked it, and subscribing if you haven't already and want to see more. So that's basically it. And I hope we can keep Kougeki-ing and show the meta that sometimes bugging your opponent is a way to victory too. So I don't have any more cheesy puns. That's it. I'm gonna go play the Bunny Clan next. Is Pale Moon a Bunny Clan? Yeah, I tried to do a Bugs Bunny kind of thing, but I guess it didn't really play off. But yeah, so click the next video. It should say most recent video. It should say another video here, or that big red dot that says subscribe. You can click that too if you like the content. So that's basically it. I will see you in the next video. Bye.